Corey Taylor from Slipknot's with us, and you know how, like, say, Ruben Studdard from American Idol's from Birmingham, and he gets the keys to the city and everything.
Yeah.
Is it like that for you guys in Des Moines, or are you guys heavy metal cast-outs there?
It's a little of both, really. I mean, we've been offered stuff from the mayor, and we've turned it down. Yeah,
you don't have the keys to the city of Des Moines. Come on.
I mean, they wanted to induct us into the Iowa Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and we were like, we're not done yet, you know? I mean, what are you doing, you know? Like, I mean, I hung out with, like, all the people who were a part of that committee, and they're wonderful people, but they're all in their 60s, man. You know, I'm 35. I'm prime, you know? I'm real estate here. And for me, it's like, you know what, let us really get to where this thing kind of ties off, you know, before you start offering us stuff like, you know, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and just calm down, people. We're not done yet, you know.
And who would be in the Iowa Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Seriously, I'm just curious. Give me some names of some Iowa.
Dude, I couldn't tell you one. The
only thing that strikes me about rock and roll in Iowa is it's where the music died. That's where Buddy Holly's playing garage.
Well, there's some older like 60s bands that came from Iowa that had some moderate hits and whatnot. So they're obviously a part of it. There's a band called the Rose Band, who've been around forever.
Really?
A lot of people I know, like the big story, like the big joke was, like, everybody that was in the Iowa scene was in the Rose Band at one time, and now we can kind of say that was Slipknot, like everybody, from my generation who was in a band was in Slipknot at one point or another. It is what it is, and obviously I'm flattered that, they would want to include us in that, but I'm like, you know what, wait until we tie this off, and then we'll talk about, having a plaque somewhere where you go and you visit and go, hey, you see that, kids? Hey, your grandfather was in that Slipknot's band there,
Corey Taylor from Slipknot's with us. They're in concert tonight here at the Pensacola Civic Center. The openers are Coheed and Cambria and Trivium. Kind of a cool mix of artists on this bill. Very different.
Yeah, really good bill. It's one of the tours that we've really tried to put together for a very long time. I mean, our taste in bands and in music is kind of a reflection of where we're at. I mean, you can't really nail down where we lie as far as like a band goes. And putting this tour together was no different. I mean, obviously they sent us a list of bands that were available, and we were like, you know what, let's put something together that is diverse and interesting like we are, and that's why, we've got a band like Coheed that is, kept like left of center of where we are, and then the band like Trivium is a little closer, but still kind of off the beaten path. And I think fans appreciate that, I mean, when I was going to see shows, it was just like that. You didn't have a bunch of cookie cutter bands that all sounded alike. I've been to metal shows where you can't tell where one band ends and the next begins. It's too incestuous. So for us, we wanted to go back to the old school way. Metallica with the Cult.
Right.
Stuff like that, and really go for it. Queensryche with Suicidal Tendencies. There's some of my favorite shows were bands that were nothing alike, but they had that same kind of common interest, common spirit, and that's what this tour is all about.
It's not Slipknot without the masks, and just very quickly, Kiss and Mudvayne gave up their makeup.
Yeah.
Will we ever see Slipknot take the stage without masks, or is it just so integral to what the band's all about?
It really is. I mean, you'll never see us unless you come to a sound check, and even then, most of us wear a mask when we're doing that. It's the spirit of it, I mean, this isn't any kind of gimmick, For us, it's always had much more integral tendencies, basically. I mean, it's always meant more to us than just the mask. There's a whole concept there that people really miss out on, and I don't fault them, I mean, a lot of people will never understand what this band is about, but the people who do understand it will realize that, I mean, there's no way that we would ever go out on stage without our masks. If it ever got to the point where we were considering it, I wouldn't do it. I would walk away first, and it's just there's a point to all of this, really, and the point is not summed up by the masks. It's not summed up by the music. It's not summed up by the art. It's not summed up by anything. It all revolves around each other. And you take one thing out of that equation, and the math doesn't make sense.
The always interesting Corey Taylor here with us on the 5 o'clock work release program. Getting set for the Slipknot concert tonight. I know this is the first headlining tour behind the new album, and I don't know if you've given it any thought, but as a Stone Sour thing, would that be maybe the next thing we hear from you, and then another Slipknot album down the line? What's the long-term plan?
Well, right now, actually, we just had a Stone Sour meeting a couple months ago, and we're starting to put stuff together for another Stone Sour album, but that won't happen until next year. We'll probably go in and record like March of next year, something like that. And then after that, I mean, we'll go out and tour and whatnot, but I'm seriously, like, I've got a solo album that I want to make, and I know a lot of people have been asking me about that. I was actually originally going to record that after this, but right now, it just makes more sense for us to do another Stone Sour album. We put so much work in on the last album, and there was so much success with that, and we really doubled our fan base that to sell that short and not continue with that wouldn't make any sense. So I do know that there's already ideas, getting down, and a lot of good music's coming out of the Stone Sour camp right now. So we're definitely going to do another Stone Sour album, but don't be surprised if you see a solo album out there, like in a couple of years or something like that. It's just something I have to do, even if it sold 5 copies, it wouldn't matter. It's an album that I have to make just so I can say I made it.
Well, you're one of the very most important artists on our radio station, so a real pleasure to have you spend some time with us here on the 5 o'clock work release program this afternoon. Slipknot is on the Gulf Coast tonight. It is here, people. It's going to be a great show this evening. Let's get everybody who's making their way down to the Civic Center tonight primed for the show. Let's go back to the Iowa album. Hopefully this is going to be one of my favorite songs here. It is Heretic Anthem. Yeah, let's do it. Slipknot, it's work release on TK101. Corey, thanks a million. Good
no worries, man, no worries.